That is a great rear end. Hello, I'm Jonesy and welcome to another episode of Aussie Bikers. Have we got an action-packed show for you? Coming up, we're going to catch up behind the scenes of the Kawasaki BC Performance Superbike team. There's a new Aussie biker flick in the works. Motorcycle journo / racer / race team manager Aunty Mal will be joining us. We tour across Cefifica on BMWs with World on Wheels, and we'll get a sneak peek inside the latest edition of Heavy Duty magazine. But first, did you know suicide takes more under the age of 40 than the national road toll? It's a sobering thought. Those lives that were taken need not to be in vain, as depression is brought more into conversations everywhere. One of those pioneers to deal with this so-called undealable subject is the Black Dog Ride, and it just gets bigger and bigger. Take a look at this.
Well, this is a Penrith Black Dog Ride. We had 641 pre-registered riders, which is a new record for the Penrith Ride. Before this, the largest amount we had was 447. So it's quite a good turnout. On top of that, we have around 100 or so walk-ins on the day. Could even be more at the moment. There's quite a few people turning up. And this is all to raise awareness of depression and suicide prevention.
We're bringing awareness simply by turning up in a massive group like we have today, as you can see. And the simple thing is, all you got to do is ask your friends, are you okay? Simple conversation starter that may save a life.
With the military clubs up the front, that was a mark of respect. We lost over 74 veterans last year to suicide. We lose more people at home than we lose in battle, which is something the public aren't necessarily aware of at all times. And the current suicide rates are more than double the road toll, and it's the highest cause of death in adults under 45 in Australia. So it's a real problem.
Quite a few of us actually do suffer from PTSD. Myself, I actually do suffer pretty bad, and seeing a lot of young men and women actually taking their own lives, we need to get the word out. And if we don't, too many are going to take their own lives.
Bit of a Winston plague in Penrith at the moment, which is nice to see. We actually needed to get someone to steal some for us on the way up from Albury's stash. So we ended up with another 15, and they sold probably within 10 minutes again this morning.
We have people from all different riding levels and skills with us here. We have scooters, we have postie bikes I've seen, sport bikes, cruisers, pretty much everything you can think of. So we need to ride at a speed that suits all levels so we don't get too far apart. So enjoy the day. Thank you.
We'll take you up on the Putty Road today on the trike. It's just custom. It's an 80 cube with a couple of things done to it. Everything's modified on this. Nothing's standard. So when it comes to spare parts, it's a bit of bad luck. You just got to try and make something that makes it work. But the ride should be good today. Suspension's been really good. There's certain things on this that makes the ride a bit more softer. The Putty Road, no matter what the conditions are, you'll have a nice easy ride.
It's going to be an awesome day on the Putty Road today.
Well, it won't be a fast ride. We'll ride out Putty Roads, nice and steady, out to Grey Gum Cafe, where we'll have raffles, there'll be live music, entertainment. It's one of the best motorcycling roads in Australia, in my opinion. It is a very nice road. It can be a dangerous road. It's taken a toll over the years, and that's why today we'll be sticking pretty nice and steady on the way out there. And we're heading to Grey Gum Cafe, which is run by Kim Grace, and Kim's a really big supporter to the motorcycle community, and we wanted to support her in return by continuing the ride out there this year. We have the raffles running. We are raising funds. Those funds are going to Headspace to work with youth. We wanted to try and direct the money to the younger crowd to try and prevent the problem from becoming worse later on, because it's a harder thing to solve as people get older. And just basically a good group of people enjoying themselves and getting a message out there to maybe even save a life or two.
If you're having trouble, please, you can seek help. The Australian Superbike Championship Series is over for another year, and what a great series it was. But what goes on behind the scenes of an Aussie Superbike race team? Well, let me tell you this, they have a very clean workshop. Have a look.
Kawasaki BC Performance, the people involved in our team for this year is we have two Superbike riders, one of them being Brian Starring and the other one being Carl Buckley. He's a young up-and-coming rider. This will be his first full season on a Superbike. I think he's definitely a name to look out for in the future. Brian is a seasoned pro. He's ridden MotoGP, World Superbike, every class you can name of, and we won the first round, so which was pretty cool. We've got a fairly large outfit for a small privateer team. It seems like we have got a large amount of people involved. Each Superbike rider has 2 mechanics, so one of them being a crew chief and the other one being a chassis mechanic.
My role here is to look after all the race bikes, so that'll be our super bikes and also our 600 super sport bikes. So a lot of maintenance, servicing the bikes between rounds. Basically with those bikes we try to pull them right down to the bare bones, you know, all the components apart, so we can give them a thorough inspection, put them all back together so that they're in 100% working order for the boys when they're out on track.
We obviously do development with the bikes as well, so we have a full dyno facilities here where we can test the bikes, make sure that they're up to scratch and up to speed. Obviously it's very competitive out there, so we need to make sure we've got a fast motorcycle, and luckily with the Kawasaki Ninjas X10R we're starting off with a very good base package. And we don't have to do much to it to make it, you know, what we need for a racetrack. We also obviously have full engine builder facilities here, and our engine builder strips the motors, builds them back up and builds them to the finest tolerances to make sure that we're the fastest bike on track. We have 2 full-time members of staff plus myself, so there's 3 of us that work full-time in the team. One of those guys, Adam, he's actually a chassis mechanic for Brian Starring. He's our full-time mechanic. His day job is basically preparing and building race bikes for the Kawasaki BC Performance.
Kawasaki bike, it seems to be fairly indestructible really, like doesn't put a foot wrong, and it's super fast. Like the boys straight out of the box doing record speeds down the straight, so they're fast, they're reliable, they handle well. You know, the guys can consistently put them on podium.
So we've got a truck that is just purpose is to go racing. In that truck we keep a load of spares in there and stuff like that. In the eventuality we might need something. Over a race weekend, in the unlikely event that one of our riders has a crash in practice or qualifying, we need to rebuild that motorcycle over that weekend to make sure it's ready for the race on Sunday.
The bikes are just so good to work on, like they're really simple to work on. I've worked on other bikes with other races and some of them can be a bit tricky. These things are just so simple.
We do like working the Kawasaki's and we seem to know how to get them to going fast.
You saw earlier on the show, we crossed over to the Black Dog Ride, which has been making giant inroads into men's health and dealing with depression and PTSD. A man that's been working in this field for about 30 years now as a counsellor in the field of drug addiction, alcohol addiction, sex addiction, is with us right now to talk about, I guess, everything that we've wanted to ask and more. Steve Stokes, welcome.
Thank you, mate.
Motorcycles, I find, and I can say this because I am one,
yeah.
You spend a lot of time in your own head.
Yes.
The mode of transport that we choose.
Yeah.
And I like that, to be honest. And
Yeah.
but I'm a very social person. What's the best way to brook the subject? If you feel one of your mates, you know, is a bit down, because I know you say, "Are you okay?" But sometimes
Yes.
I feel that seems a little glib.
Well, it's nearly like, are you okay? Like, I reckon one of the great lies of society is fine. You know, so I can ask you, are you okay? And feel like I've done my bit. And I think these initiatives are awesome. But expect someone who's not travelling well to tell you they're fine.
So if it gets to that point though, so you say I've got a mate, his name's Pete,
Yeah.
and he was usually chatty, but something's gone a bit quiet or he seems a bit negative.
Yeah.
How do you get to that point? How do you mine further to find out that if indeed he actually has a problem?
You know what, it's such a decent question, and I wish I had something that sounded sophisticated, right? But as a society, we don't do relationship well. So I think if you've got a mate and they're not doing well, and be prepared that they're going to fob you off a bit. They're going to want to get rid of you at the first sort of cull. You know, are you sure you're all right? Yeah, mate, I'm fine, you know. You sure you're all right? No, get out of here. Leave me alone. What's wrong with you?
Yeah.
You know, so I think be prepared to go to the mat with a mate because they're going to get rid of you. If they've got an alcohol or drug problem, now they've got a tolerance with withdrawal issue, so it's not going to be easy. If they've got PTSD and they're not talking about it, and PTSD can come from an act of violence or an act of life threat in your adult life, but a lot of men I work with come in with a resulting depression from PTSD from childhood trauma that they just don't talk about. Either growing up in a family home that was less than nurturing, or going through a school or religious system where there was some abuse that they don't want to talk about. So those mates, be prepared for them even to rage at you. and tell you to F off, you know. But I think the trick is stay in there, mate, and get informed. If there's something you don't know about, ask some questions about it. There's some great books. There's some great websites these days. The Black Dog Ride, and all those sort of components are there for people now. So I think it is stay in relationship. Don't give up at the first, second, or third rebuttal, because they're coming. If they're a buddy and you care for them, then go to the mat with them. And you're powerless over it. And I'm humbled as a bloke that works in this field that people have the right to live and die, to live the way they want. I can't stop someone doing something if they want to do it. But you can do your best to stay in relationship with them for as long as you can, because you care, you know. My mates are always telling me to F off, but it's more about when I ask to borrow their tools and stuff. That's what you've got to give them back, mate. You've got to give them back. It's giving them back, apparently, they have to have. Yeah. Well, Steve, thank you for joining us. Of course, there's always Lifeline. You can look up the numbers. There's plenty of counsellors like Steve available. Steve Stokes, thank you for coming on Aussie Bikers. My pleasure. Thank you. You know, when I first saw Stone as a teen, it blew my mind. Here is a movie that on a shoestring budget blew the scene apart in the 70s. It is also one of director Quentin Tarantino's favourite movies. Recently in Australia we saw the release of 1%, which is a ripper yarn that stars our old mate Matt Nable. And now Spider has his new movie. If anything, he's got a Harley with a very illuminating paint job.
I've written a script or a screenplay that's going to be turned into a full-length feature film. It's called Patched. The synopsis, you might as well say, is about a small town community which has an outlaw motorcycle club, lives on the outskirts of the town, and then the government have turned around and brought in all these laws which has shut down some of these guys' businesses. They're told they can't wear certain items of clothing, etc., etc. And there's going to be a lot of action in this, you know. People have got to realise, although there's a lot of fact in this film, and whatever, this is a movie. It's not a documentary. It's an Aussie tale, that's what it is. And we have some great people that have come on board, a fellow by the name of Andy McPhee, who was in season 3 of Sons of Anarchy, Mirko Grellini, who was in Wanted, Uncle Jack Charles, the Indigenous actor. These are all people that have, you know, read the script and said, oh look, Spider, we'd love to come on board and help you out. This is the bike that Andy McPhee will be riding in the film. The paint job's been done by a company in Adelaide called Custom Digital, with the help of Luminor, which is a paint company in the States. They've got together and collaborated and made this bike. All this paintwork actually lights up, and it's not a matter of glowing in the dark or anything like that. It actually lights up. It's all electrical connected, same as the front guard and the rear guard. This is the only one in this country. I think there's only one other in the world that's actually got this sort of technology. It's going to be a very famous motorcycle, this. Stone is a standalone film that's got a cult following, and I would love it to be like that. I really would love it to be like that. I've had some feedback from one of the people that were in Stone, and they've actually said, I've got another cult film on my hands here. So you know, yeah, but we'll just have to wait and see until it comes out.
See, you can say you knew Patched before it was famous. Aunty Mal has been part of motorcycling as long as the chain drive. A staunch Ducati man, motorcycle journalist, racer come team manager. And you know what? Now he's on Aussie Bikers.
My name is Aunty Mal, and I've been around for a while at the Ducati Club and the Bears Club. Please don't hold this against me. I'm a former motorcycle journalist. I'm now retired. I've worked with Australian Motorcycle News, Cycle Talk, Rapid Bikes, Revs, and there's a few of those that aren't around anymore, but I also got involved in racing when I was much younger, had a couple of bad accidents, left racing because of it. Was happy to be involved in doing the world's first motorcycle magazine on video.
In our bumper first issue, we kick off with a full report on Italy's finest, the Bermuda DB1. Talk exclusively with the wizard of Aussie road races, Rothman's Honda rider Wayne Gardner, and preview the new lineup of stars and high-tech bikes for this year's World 500cc Road Racing Championship.
Back in the early days, just when Wayne Gardner won his first championship, he helped us, as did Graham Crosby, Neil Crompton and others. And then we continued on and sort of unofficially got involved with helping the Royal Rehabilitation Hospital through the Thunder Rally, and that raises funds, and the club gives those funds every year to the hospital. So it's a pretty widespread. I had my own race team for 13 years as well. We won about 7 championships there, not with me as a rider, but with wonderful riders like Johnny Lyons and Kerry Mills and Phil Gray, who's here today, and Bruno Mamoni as our crew chief. 2 6 hours for Ducati as well, and just a privilege. And I must say now that the smartest thing I ever learnt was the fact that I wasn't very smart, but I've had a lot of very good people help me, and it's an absolute privilege and a wonderful journey. A wonderful journey.
You know, we never asked why he's called Aunty Mal. Maybe next time. Exotic culture, amazing wildlife, and some great riding roads. This week, we join the team from World on Wheels as they take us on tour across South Africa.
South Africa is a wonderful destination. We start off in Cape Town and go through to Johannesburg and see quite a lot in between.
Yeah, we've got a lot of great riding in between Cape Town and Joburg. Some fantastic mountain passes, beautiful scenery.
We head right down to the southernmost point, which is not only the southernmost point of South Africa, but the entire African continent, of course. We head west and go along the garden route. We go through Lesotho, which is the kingdom in the sky. It's a very high raised plateau above the rest of the flat South African plain.
Taking in the Sani Pass to get there, don't forget the Sani Pass.
The Sani Pass.
The very adventurous Sani Pass.
Tests a few people out. It's quite a rocky and challenging little mountain pass. We've had some fun on there.
And I don't know about you guys, but Cape Town was actually quite a surprise for me.
It's a beautiful city.
Yeah, it was different to what I was expecting. It actually reminded me a little bit of Auckland, and a kind of sailing city down by the waterfront. Very, very, very pretty.
Fantastic food, some excellent wines, South African wines, who hasn't heard how good they are, and some exquisite little experiences along the way.
And then you've got that cultural balance with visiting the Zulu people, for example, which is not something that you can do in Australia or New Zealand. And of course, at the end of the tour, we have a big highlight. Our visit to Kruger National Park at the end of the tour is certainly a massive highlight of our experience. Awesome wildlife, and we get up close and personal, and I think it's one of those travelling memories that stays with you for the rest of life, you know, having intimate interactions with rhino and hippo.
One of the benefits of staying very close to Kruger National Park is we can be up very early in the morning, and we do a dawn safari ride where you get to see not only the Big Five, the famous Big Five animals, but a whole bunch of other animals as well. The national speed limit in South Africa is 120 kilometres an hour. And we're not talking dual carriageway, we're talking ordinary highways. So those of us who enjoy a twist of the wrist on the BMWs can take advantage of the very realistic speed limits that they have in that particular country.
Yeah, and up away from the coast, there's a lot of long stretches that we get to really open up on the bike and really enjoy that speed limit.
Absolutely. Again, our bike supplier is a BMW only shop, but he offers us the full range of GS models.
Yeah, I had an R1200 GS for 2 up through South Africa, and I couldn't have imagined a better bike.
Absolutely. Beautiful roads, beautiful landscapes.
Yeah.
Come and do it.
The Beam is a good bike for that landscape.
Absolutely.
Let's have a look at what's in the next issue of Heavy Duty magazine. It's packed. Check out the Sports to Cover bike from Adelaide Bike Works Harley-Davidson. It's made top 3 in the Battle of the Kings, which is a customising competition run by Harley through their dealers worldwide. Isn't it a great looking bike? There's a full test on the new 2019 HT FXDR Power Cruiser, 114 cubes of serious muscle, and a big feature on the HT 115th anniversary party in Milwaukee. This issue is out now. Make sure you get your copy. Well, there you have it, another episode of Aussie Bikers. Thanks so much for joining us. If you want to get more Aussie Bikers, aussiebikers.com for more videos, news, events and photos, also discussion. And don't forget to sign up to the mailing list for updates and special offers. We'll see you next time, and what the? Shiny side up. Yeah.